Hello everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail, broadcasting news stories. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. My wife and I have been together for the 5th year in everyday life. Everything is fine. We have a child of 2 years. I love my wife very much. And now about the main thing. My wife worked in a company where the staff was very bad. Why are you asking me? And now I will tell you where I got such conclusions. I didn't want to let my wife go to a corporate party. I had a bad feeling inside. She had been preparing for this corporate party for 2 weeks. A dress with a large neckline on the chest. Dear perfume, how I didn't like it all. Well, she said with a smile that I love you. It's all in order to impress female colleagues because they argued who would look better at this party. I had no reason not to believe my wife. I let her go. And so a taxi came for her. I saw her off and stayed at home with the child. Before leaving, I asked with the last hope, maybe you won't go after all. She replied that it would have a bad effect on her career. The boss does not like refusal. Of course, she earned more than me, so I thought, okay, let her rest, relax, have fun. She went to all the events organized by her company more than once. I let her go without any problems. Everything was fine. But this time, I had an incomprehensible feeling in my soul. I do not know how to describe it. In general, I was very worried that day. By 11 o'clock in the evening, I decided to call my wife, asked when she was going home. When she picked up the phone, I barely shouted to her. The music was playing very loud. I heard that she would be delayed for 3 hours because they decided to continue the event. Through the music and the words she was telling me, I could hear male voices insistently calling her to dance. By the appointed time, my wife did not come home. When I started calling her, the phone was turned off. She arrived the next evening, was drunk, and kissed me passionately. All the time my wife was not at home. Something terrible was going on in my head. I was awake all the time waiting. Every 20 minutes I called colleagues, relatives, everyone I could. No one had a connection. There were thoughts that if she did not return by morning, I would go to the police, just in case I would take the child to the mother. When she came in, the first thing I asked was why there was no connection with her. Did the wife make round eyes to turn it off? And I'm wondering why you didn't call me, she said. I didn't turn off the phone. For some reason, it turned off. Quickly ran to the bathroom to take a shower. After a shower, she immediately went to the kitchen to cook up. While she was cooking, I kept trying to figure out where she had disappeared to. But she kept saying, let's talk later. I celebrated Christmas with contempt, even though my wife tried to cheer me up, talked about love, the baby, our future, even sat on my lap and kissed me. I saw that she did it intentionally. She had never behaved like this before. I immediately realized that my wife was hiding something. After 3 glasses of champagne, she relaxed. I hardly drank. About 3 o'clock in the morning, she said she was tired and was going to bed. I did not wake her up in the early morning. I decided to go to the place where she celebrated the holiday with the company while driving, deliberately turned off the phone. An hour later, I was already on the spot, found the head of the security service and asked if there was an event of the company where my wife worked. The head of the security service replied that yes, there was such a company here, but they did not go anywhere because they paid not only for the restaurant but also for hotel rooms. Of course, they didn't show me the video from the cameras. They said that the information was confidential, but as one smart person said, a donkey loaded with gold will enter any fortress. I found a security guard, explained the whole situation to him, arranged a pleasant morning for him, bought coffee, donuts, and for a small fee, recorded a video from my wife's corporate party on a flash drive. I assured him that this video is for personal viewing only. I started watching, and then I noticed my wife. She was not very drunk and was entering the room with some guy who was holding her waist and standing in front of the room. They kissed passionately after they entered the room. Then, an hour and a half later, this man left the room and returned, but not alone. He brought another guy with him. They entered the room and the door didn't close until the end. It was difficult to watch the episodes, but it was enough for me. My wife had sex first with one, then with another. After a while, they tore her in 2 at once. In between sex, they drank champagne and talked about something. It lasted all night. In the morning, the men left my wife's room. An hour after they left, the wife came out and went to her friend's room. She knocked for a long time. As a result, she was opened. After 10 minutes, a man came out of the room. The women did not leave the room until the evening. Men and women constantly came to them. The last shot was already from the street when my wife and colleague got into a taxi. After what I saw, I drove home in a rage. Almost had an accident twice, but did not stop. In the evening, I returned home, watched the video, cut out the moments I needed. It took a lot of time. My wife met me angrily, but after looking at me, she suddenly became softer and asked in a calm voice why my phone was unavailable. I said that no one had called me, took out my phone, turned it on in front of her and muttered that it had turned off by itself. And with feigned bewilderment, he said that he himself was wondering why no one was calling him. That's when I saw the anger on her face. I immediately asked the question, where was she all night? Only warned that the answer was honest. Her answer was as follows. She was at a corporate party, had too much alcohol, went with a colleague in a taxi and fell asleep, woke up at a friend's in the morning. She was very ill, so she returned in the evening. I asked again, is it really true? There was fright on her face. She swore and said that it was the purest truth, and she saw no point in lying to me. Then I offered to go to her friend and thank her. My wife said that she was not ready and was not feeling well. Well then, I couldn't stand it anymore and angrily said, let's watch a porn movie with you in the title role then. In response, she said in a frightened voice that she was not going to watch anything and went into the room. I took the laptop, downloaded all the videos from the USB stick, went into the room and looked. My wife is sitting on the bed and crying. I turned on the recording and threw the laptop on the bed. She sobbed loudly, began to beg and say that she had been raped. I suggested that she contact the police. She, of course, refused, saying that she had drunk a lot of alcohol, did not know how it all happened, that she loved me and our child very much. Don't jump to conclusions that a child shouldn't grow up without a father, she shouted. It was painful for me to look at this woman and listen to her excuses and assurances of sincere love for her family and child. I was seized with a real rage. I started screaming, what was she thinking about when she dragged a man into a room? What was she thinking about when there were two men there? Was she thinking about me at that moment? Or about the baby? And did all the events happen to her along the way? My wife started hysterically begging me to forgive her and start everything from scratch. That it was the only time, and she will never repeat this mistake again in her life. If she does not want to lose me, she wants the child to have a father and mother. She wants to kill herself for what she did, and she can't imagine life without me and our child. Then I burst out. I started screaming even harder and asked a question. What was she thinking about in this room? What was she thinking when she left for this party? Why did she lie to me in the first place? Who is the man she entered the room with, and who is the second man who joined later? The wife stopped crying and with a stony face said that she understands everything and is ready to do everything to save the family, that our child and I are very dear to her. She does not see further life without us. I silently took out my suitcase and began to put my things there. She sat rooted to the spot looking at one point. The hysteria was repeated when I approached the door. She clung to my jacket so that I tore it off with difficulty, even tore my jacket. She begged me not to leave, begged me to stay, begged for forgiveness, tried to kiss me. But I left, called my mother, asked that the child stay with her for now, and that she did not answer my wife's calls and did not give her the child under any circumstances. I said I'd explain everything later, but right now I need to be alone. I rented a hotel room, ordered food and alcohol, lay in bed, drank, ate, thought about my life in general, so to speak. Then my phone rang. It was my wife's father. He was interested in when his daughter and I would come to visit them. I replied that we couldn't come. We just couldn't, and that was it. When I got home, I told my wife that I was filing for divorce, that I had thought it over and realized that I would never be able to forgive her. I told her to get out of my house. It was bought before marriage, and I will file a lawsuit to determine the place of residence of the child with the father, due to the immoral behavior of the mother. She's just a whore. I turned around and left, started the car and drove away. No one stopped me anymore. And I found these two men, found out that they are both married and even have children. As revenge, I showed their wives an erotic film with their participation. I do not know how their disassembly ended, but I am no longer interested in it. I need to start a new life. That's the whole story, friends. Write comments. Did I do the right thing? What do you think? It's just that sometimes I think about it and I feel sorry for my wife. Channel author's advice. I understand that you are going through a difficult and emotional situation. It is obvious that you were deeply offended and betrayed by your wife's actions. However, it is important to approach this situation with empathy and careful consideration. If I were you, I would leave my wife, but I am me, and you are you. The final decision is yours. Here are some tips for reflection. Dealing with infidelity and betrayal is incredibly difficult. Consider seeking help from a therapist or counselor to sort out your feelings, understand your emotions, and make decisions from a clearer perspective. Your child is an important factor in this situation. Make sure their well-being is a priority when making any decisions. A stable and supportive environment is crucial for their upbringing. Take time for yourself to think about your feelings and about the future that you imagine. Decisions made in moments of anger or pain may not be the best in the long run. Time can bring clarity. If you decide to file for divorce or file any kind of legal action, consult with a lawyer to understand your rights and obligations, especially in relation to your child. Despite the fact that your emotions are justified, sharing explicit content with others without their consent can lead to legal consequences and further complications. It is important to approach sensitive issues with respect and responsibility. Rely on the emotional support of your friends and family during this time. Communicating with people you trust can give you different points of view and ideas. Remember that every situation is unique and there is no universal answer. Ultimately, the decision you make should be based on what you think is best for your emotional well-being and your child's well-being. What do you think, friends? What can you say about this? Friends, I have a dream that my channel has gained 100,000 subscribers. I know that I'm still far away, but I believe in it. I believe in it. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.